Hello everyone, I am Alia Christina and today I'm going to share a brief background of the short story Lamb to the Slaughter. This story was written by Roald Dahl, a British author who is famous for his unique style of writing that often includes dark humor and unexpected twist endings. He is also very well known for his children's books such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Matilda. Lamb to the Slaughter was first published in 1953 and it is part of his crime and mystery fiction. What makes this story interesting is how it starts from an ordinary situation but then develops into something full of suspense and surprise, which is a trademark of Dahl's style of writing. This story introduces Mary Maloney, a devoted housewife, and shows how her ordinary life takes a sudden turn after receiving shocking news from her beloved husband. This story sets the stage for an unexpected twist combining suspense, irony, and dark humor.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Izam bin Azizul, and for this short story analysis, I will explain the fractal triangle of Lamb to the Slaughter. So, let's go. So, let's begin with the exposition. Exposition is the introduction of the story. It's where we meet the characters, learn about the setting, or understand the mood or atmosphere. Think of it as the foundation that prepare us for everything that comes next. Without exposition, the audience wouldn't know who to follow or why the story matters. An example from the story, in Lamb to the Slaughter, the exposition introduces us to Mary Melanie. She is a loving, a gentle, and a good housewife. She wait happily at home for her husband, Patrick, a police detective, to return from work. Everything seems ordinary and peaceful. The house is quiet, the atmosphere is warm, and Mary's deep love for Patrick is very clear. She fusses over him, wants to make him comfortable, and looks forward to spending time with him. This opening is very important because it paints Mary as a devoted wife, which the later twist is so surprising. Next, come the rising action. This is where the main conflict starts to appear and tension begins to grow. The rising action slowly pushes the story toward its most dramatic point, keeping the audience curious of what's gonna happen next. Example from the story, the rising action begins when Patrick arrives home. Something feels wrong almost immediately. Instead of greeting Mary with affection, he is very cold and distant. He drinks more whiskey than usual and avoids any small talk. The silence is very uncomfortable for Mary, and Mary senses something is very off. Then Patrick delivers shocking news. He is leaving her. The exact reason is never explained to the audience, which makes the moment mysterious and make the audience think, what is the cause that makes Patrick want to leave Mary? So this is the moment where an explosion, attention explodes in Mary's mind. But instead of reacting angrily, she go to the kitchen and prepare a dinner. She control her emotions as the audience knows something inside her is about to break. Now, we have arrived at the climax. So, the climax is the turning point of the story. The single most dramatic and intense moment that changed everything is often the point of no return for the character. In Lamb to the Slaughter, climax happens in an instant. Overwhelmed with shock and heartbreak, Mary walks back into the living room holding a frozen leg of lamb. Without a single warning, she swings the leg of lamb she held and strikes Patrick on the head. The blows kill him instantly. This one-sided act changes the story. Mary is no longer just a gentle, loving housewife. She has become a murderer. The moment surprised the audience because it is so unexpected, yet it strangely justified after the rising tension. So, after the climax comes the falling action. This part shows how the character deals with the result of their big decision or shocking action. It is where the story begins moving towards its conclusion. But the suspense is still present as we wonder how will things turn out. In Lamb to the Slaughter, the falling action begins after Mary kills Patrick. Instead of panicking, she quickly regains control and thinks of a plan. She goes to a grocery store to create an alibi. Acting cheerful and normal so people will remember her behavior as in like nothing happened. When she returned, she called the police pretending to be shocked at Patrick's death. Soon, the officer has arrived at the scene and they begin to start investigate. They search the house for the murder weapon. Mary remains calm and convincing as the grieving wife, acting like she didn't just kill him. The audience feels suspense here because we know the truth while the policemen are completely fooled. This built the tension towards the resolution. We have come to the last part, the resolution. So, resolution is the ending of the story. It shows how the conflict is wrapped up and what the final outcome is for the characters. Sometimes it leaves us with closure. Sometimes it leaves us with ironic or a twist that lingers in our mind. In Lamb to the Slaughter, the resolution is both doubly ironic and shocking. Mary places the leg of lamb, the very weapon she used to kill Patrick, in the oven and roast it. Meanwhile, the officer that investigating the case grows hungry. Mary sees this as an opportunity to offer them the leg of lamb she just roasted in the oven. While the officer enjoying the leg of lamb Mary just offered them, they jokingly said, maybe the weapon is right under the noses, while Mary listened from the room and laughed to herself in the other room. This ending is very powerful because it ties everything together with dramatic irony. We, the audience, know the truth, but the characters never did. The story closes with Mary escaping the suspicion, leaving us both shocked and impressed by her cleverness.
Hi, my name is Ahmad Danish bin Zulkifli and I am going to explain the settings and the characters and characteristics of the story Lamb to the Slaughter. As for the setting, the story has two main places, with the first being the Melanie home. The home is warm, cozy, clean and peaceful at the start of the story. Second, the grocery shop where Mary goes to make her alibi. The time is evening when Patrick comes home from work. The atmosphere begins calm and happy, with Mary waiting lovingly for his husband Patrick. But then, the story changes to tense and shocking after Patrick's unexpected news. Okay, now I am going to continue and explain about the characters and characteristics of the story Lamb to the Slaughter. The first character is Mary Maloney. Mary begins as a loving and devoted wife, completely focused on her husband Patrick. But after he gives her shocking news, she changes quickly. She stays calm, thinks fast, and creates a clever alibi. Her character moves from gentle and caring to cold and calculating. One line that shows her love toward her husband is, she loved to luxuriate in the presence of this man. This makes her sudden change even more surprising. Alright, the next character that I will explain from the story Lamb to the Slaughter is Mary Maloney's husband, Patrick Maloney. Patrick Maloney is a police officer who is well respected in his job. At home though, he is distant and cold toward Mary. He shows little emotion when he speaks, and he seems ready to leave her. His role ends when Mary kills him with the frozen leg of lamb. One line that shows his coldness is, "This is going to be a bit of a shock to you, I'm afraid." This line shows how detached he is from Mary's feelings. Now, I am also going to explain the other characters in the story Lamb to the Slaughter, as they are also important to the story's twist. The first character is Sam, the grocery shop owner. He is very kind and unsuspecting. Without knowing it, he helps Mary build her alibi. Next notable one is the police officers, who are Patrick's friends and colleagues. They come to investigate the murder, but Mary managed to fool them completely. And in the end, they even eat the murder weapon, which is the leg of lamb. Their failure highlights just how clever Mary Maloney really is. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Ahmad Zakirin and I'll be explaining about conflict. And I'll start with internal conflict. So, in the Lamb to the Slaughter by Roald Dahl, the main internal conflict is between Mary Maloney and herself. At first, she is a loving, devoted wife, but when Patrick says he is leaving, she is emotionally crushed. Mary is torn between being the perfect housewife and her rising anger and shock. This conflict explodes when she suddenly kills Patrick with the frozen leg of lamb. Afterward, she forces herself to stay calm and plan how to cover the crime. As the story says, it was until then that she began to get frightened. She went about her business and tried to act as if nothing had happened. This shows how Mary struggles to deny the truth and control her emotions, revealing her deep internal conflict. So the next one will be about external conflict. So in the Lamb to the Slaughter, the main external conflict is between Mary Maloney and her husband, Patrick. His decision to leave her even while she is pregnant becomes the breaking point. So Patrick's coldness clashes with Mary's devotion, creating the central conflict that leads to the murder. His harsh word, "So there it is. I know it's kind of a bad time, but there simply wasn't any other way," show he is ready to walk away while Mary cannot accept losing him. This confrontation sparks the violent twist of the story. Alright, so now I'll start explaining about the point of view of the story. So, in The Lamb to the Slaughter, the story is told in third person limited. So, this means that the narrator is not a character, but we mostly see things from Mary's Maloney perspective. So, through this point of view, we are able to experience Mary's thoughts, feeling, and shock when Patrick gives her the bad news. For example, we don't actually hear the exact word from Patrick, but we know how Mary reacts, frozen, stunned, and almost in a dreamlike state. After the murder, the narration continues to follow Mary closely as she calmly and slowly plans how to cover her crime. This perspective makes us root for her even though she is the killer. Alright, so now I'll explain about the effect of the POV. So, since you guys know, Lamb to the Slaughter uses third person limited POV, so it has three main effects. So first of all, it creates suspense because we only see Mary's perspective, so the police thoughts remain hidden, making it irony when they eat the murderer's weapon. Second, it builds sympathy because we can see Mary's side and we feel how she was shocked and desperate to keep Patrick on her side. And finally, it strengthened the irony by hiding Patrick's exact word while showing Mary clever cover-up, leaving readers in on the secret while the police stay clueless.
Now I will explain the themes of the short story Lamb to the Slaughter by Roald Dahl. The first theme is betrayal and revenge. As we can see in the story, Patrick betrays Mary when he suddenly decides to leave her, and in response, Mary takes revenge by killing him with the frozen leg of lamb. The second theme is deception and irony. After the murder, Mary cleverly pretends to be innocent. She even offers the cooked leg of lamb to the policeman. And the greatest irony is that they end up eating the very weapon used in the crime.
Today, I'm going to talk about some literary devices that Roald Dahl uses in his short story. The first device is irony. It is more specifically dramatic irony because this occurs when the audience knows something that the character do not. So at the end of the story, the policeman eat the leg of lamb, not realizing that this is actually the murder weapons. So we as the reader already know these facts, and that contrast creates a moment that is both shocking and darkly humorous. Next is foreshadowing. At the beginning, Mary is portrayed as calm, gentle, and deeply devoted to her husband. Later, after she murders him, she maintains that same calmness while covering up her crime. But this early description foreshadowing her ability to remain composed, preparing us for the twist in her action. Lastly is dark humors, or known as black comedy. Even though murder is a serious subject, but Dahl inject humors into the dialogue of the policeman. For example, when they say that the weapon might be right under our nose, but they are unknowingly eating it. This creates a disturbing but memorable sense of irony that blends horror with comedy. So in conclusion, Dahl's use of irony, foreshadowing, and dark humors and only makes the story suspenseful and entertaining, but also highlight its deeper theme, betrayals, deceptions, and the hidden darkness in seemingly ordinary life. So that's all from us. Thank you.
In conclusion, Roald Dahl's Lamb to the Slaughter highlights how betrayal can push an ordinary person into extraordinary action. Through irony, suspense, and dark humors, Dahl shows the thin line between love and violence, and how deceptions can outsmart even the law. The story leaves readers amused and unsettled, proving why it remains a powerful example of dark, twisted yet brilliant storytelling.